Everybody, welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Perry. We're going to get Perry on the line in just a second. Well, we're going to talk tonight about Trump's appointments and who he's planning to nominate to head up the government agencies in his administration. We're going to talk about Stephen Miller and others. The latest, Pete Hegseth, the Fox News host, was tapped to be Secretary of Defense, if you believe that. All right, let's see if we can't get Perry on the line. Hey, Perry, welcome to episode 97. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, Rudy, I tell you, I still haven't woken up from last Tuesday.
It was a great thing, wasn't it?
And the dream just keeps getting sweeter and sweeter.
And surreal.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So before we get into some of these nominations here for Trump's cabinet, I want to revisit the House. Now, some people have said we are going to get control of the House. It takes 218, and some are saying it's going to be 222. But with one of the nominations, Elise Stepanik, there's going to be an empty seat there in New York. I guess was going to leave it up to the governor to put somebody in her stead. Now, do you know, does Hochul have to appoint somebody from the Republican Party?
No, and I was as fearful about this situation as you, but let's face it, Donaldus Magnus doesn't make mistakes. And so it was reported later this afternoon that there would be a special election. I'm sorry, it was this morning. If in fact she's going to go to the UN, there's going to be a special election. And she won re-election convincingly. She won with 68% of the vote. This is what a Politico within the Republican Party said. It is a ruby red district. Remember, she's from upstate New York. Okay. And Stefanik has been coveting this opportunity because she is Jewish and she hates the UN almost as much as Donald Trump does. And she's going to be another firebrand, just like Nikki was, but she's not a member of the deep state as Nikki is, and why Nikki has not been invited to the second Trump term, along with Pompeo. Right. So I don't like the fact that there is going to be a special election because, let's face it, the Democrats are going to dump tens of millions, if not $100 million, into turning that district blue. And there really isn't an effective Republican Party in the state of New York. And so my concern is if God forbid the unforeseeable were to happen, we'd have to accept that. As a matter of fact, he's not my congressman, but he's in the neighboring district. I'm not going to mention which one because I'm not allowed to right now. But he was going to be tabbed to come into Trump's second White House. And he turned down the opportunity because he said, because he's an American firster. I'm not going to go any farther than that. And he said, we don't have enough of us in the House we can't spare anyone. I'm staying put.
Right.
And so that's all I can say. My congressman has been tabbed to become national security advisor. Again, same situation.
Mike Waltz is your guy?
He is my my congressman. My son even worked on his first campaign to get him elected 6 years ago.
Well, that's a nice segue. Well, let's get into Mike Waltz as national security advisor.
Great. As you and I both know, and I'm sure many of your viewers know, he's retired Special Forces. He was a Green Beret. He was decorated at least twice, I think, for heroism. And he was a lieutenant. He is a lieutenant colonel, and he knows. I don't want to say where the dead buried, but he knows how much inefficiency exists in our intelligence gathering networks, and most importantly, I can't wait for him to go after the criminals that are in those departments. We got several. You have military intelligence, then you have naval intelligence, which is not one and the same, and you have the CIA, the NSA, and I believe there's one other intelligence gathering department. All of that is not going to be directly answerable to him, but the director of intelligence will be answerable to him. And that's Ratcliffe. He's going to be the CIA director.
Right.
So, and we both know what Ratcliffe is all about. And, all spooks are bad, but I'd rather it be a spook that I like than a spook I don't trust. And so you put that together with my congressman, who is going to be at the table with the president and advising him. And he I don't want to say he hates China. I don't think it's a matter of hating China, but he is one of the congressmen who, and now he's been there for 6 years. He just won another term that he's not going to serve. Okay. He's one of the congressmen that has been screaming and ringing the alarm bells. Look, this ain't just about Taiwan. This is about Indo-Pacific nations. This is not just about one island here. The Chinese are going after the Filipinos. They're going after the Malaysians. They're even going after the North Vietnamese. They are trying to send a message throughout the Pacific Rim. You don't have to worry about Uncle Sam. You need to worry about us.
Yeah. And
he's been screaming about this. So I like having him as national security advisor.
And I hope for sure that he brings up the infiltration the communist Chinese have in the West. Not only,
I'm sure. Let me tell you, I have yet to shake that man's hand. Now I probably won't get a chance to, but during every campaign he makes himself available, and I have watched on YouTube the conversations he's had with his constituency, and this guy is no nonsense. My son, keep in mind he had just graduated from military school. Okay. It's not quite the same as today when he's 26. But my point being is my son was overly impressed by him. And he made him feel good about being an American. And so, it's a good thing. Yeah. Let's just go there. I think Mike Waltz is going to be great.
Yeah, well, I hope so, and I think it will too. I put out a short today, one of my comments during my podcast this morning about how I like Special Forces guys in government because they're the best of the best, and they're usually super intelligent guys who could work on a number of different things at once. Let's roll into Kristi Noem now. She's been tapped to be the head of the Department of Homeland Security. which is a multi-agency umbrella. What's your take on that? People are a little hesitant about full-throatedly endorsing her because there's a lot of departments in Homeland Security that she would have to oversee.
Well, we know one thing for sure. She knows how to shoot a gun.
And a dog.
Well, yeah. And what was it, a goat?
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like that came out of left field. But, you know, she was in the Veep stakes. And people who are tabbed, as JD was, tabbed to be the vice presidential nominee, are nominated or first selected by the nominee and then nominated by the party because people believe that individual has what it takes at a moment's notice to step in if the president is incapacitated. And so the fact that she has been a very effective governor, I believe at least twice elected. I don't know if they have term limits there. But you know, South Dakota has had a lot of good things happen in the past near decade or more. You know, Kristi Noem is not the only good thing about South Dakota. And then, you know, her neighbor to the direct north is Doug Burgum. And we know about Doug and how effective he has been as a governor, that he was a very successful businessman. He knows IT. You know, I'm waiting for him to be tabbed. Maybe DOE, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as far as Kristi Noem being named for that position, I don't want to say I hesitate, but I just felt like it was out of left field. Let's see. Let's see.
It seems like he's assembling a camera-friendly crew of department heads that that could easily hold their own talking to the press, and that seems to be the common thread throughout all of this. Let's jump to Pete Hegseth, as long as we're on the surprises out of left field. This one I'm not comfortable with. I don't know. He doesn't have any executive experience, I guess, for what I know. I mean, he served in the armed forces, but in the National Guard. He did serve in combat.
No, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
He did serve in combat, in Afghanistan.
He did.
Yeah, Afghanistan and Iraq.
Both Afghanistan and Iraq. Right.
And he was decorated, which is great. But I don't know, commanding the Department of Defense, wow. Well,
again, like you, and like I just said about Kristi Noem, I felt like it was out of left field. I don't want to really put Pete down because I really like him. I really like how he presents himself and how he feels about his brothers and sisters in the armed forces. But like you, I'm looking, you know, for more meat on the bone. And my thinking is, like I said, I don't want to put Pete down here, but I don't think for a second he was Trump's first choice for Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, I thought Rick Grinnell.
Well, I thought Rick Grinnell for Secretary of State, if not Secretary of State, certainly inside the intelligence department. But getting back to why he selected Pete, I just think whoever he had as a number one choice said, no, I'm not interested. My governor, as a matter of fact, I would love to see him as Secretary of Defense. If not Secretary of Defense, he was a JAG officer, maybe Secretary of of, I'm sorry, not secretary, attorney general. And the reason why I say that is, as I mentioned to you in private communications today, we have a firebrand of a lieutenant governor that's just waiting for her opportunity to lead this state. Nunez is not someone to play around with. She is a very successful businesswoman from Miami, obviously Cuban descent. But my point being is, lieutenant governors are like vice presidents. It's mostly a ceremonial position. They work at the directive of the governor. And so there's very little she has been able to do in order to prove herself to the people of Florida over these past 6 years. What a golden opportunity for her if Donald Trump were to offer and DeSantis were to accept a position within the cabinet, because I'm not saying it because he's my governor. I'm saying it because I believe, like Rudy was America's mayor. I honestly love my governor, and he, to me, has proven this is what a governor should be to the people in his state. Yeah. He has been incredibly effective. And so he's proven, as a congressman, that now as a governor, that he has what it takes to run. Well, in the case of Florida, he ran in the third most populous state in the country. Okay. Countless storms and, everything else that goes along with governing, a huge, huge state. So why not give Nunez the opportunity? That's what I want to see, because that means not only a continuation of the DeSantis governorship, but in addition to serving the last 2 years of his second term, she can then run for another 8 years. I mean, and that's how I look at this. Projecting out, just like if Trump, and I don't think he will, but I would love to see him test the 25th Amendment in 4 years. I don't think he will, not because he doesn't want to, but because I don't think Melania will let him, honestly. He'll be, 82 then, right?
Right.
I think.
Yep.
And that would, obviously make him the oldest president in the history of our country. And when it comes to serving another term. But I've always disliked that amendment. The Republican Party put it in place because they were jealous of FDR. They could never put up a candidate to defeat him. And this was their way of assuring that there would not be a king, so to speak, ever in the Oval Office.
Yep.
I just think, 4 years to do everything that Trump needs to do. I don't want to say it's impossible, because Lord knows if anybody can do it, it's Donaldus Magnus. Yeah. I would rather see 16 years of a Trump-Vance agenda rather than just 12.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's really going to be two. It's really going to be 2 years, more than likely, to have full control of the federal government. As long as we're in Florida, let's stay with Marco Rubio, your state senator, is not formally, but seems to be tapped for Secretary of State. What do you think of that pick? And also, another congressman from your state, Anna Paulina Luna, put on X today that she thinks DeSantis should name Lara Trump should Marco Rubio take the spot at Secretary of State.
Well, Marco serves on the Foreign Relations Committee. Every time there has been something in the news that has caused the cameras to roll on that committee, he's always been exquisite at explaining his position and why it should be the position of the foreign policy of our country. That's what you're looking for in a Secretary of State. I loved Mike Pompeo while he served as Secretary of State, but everything that has come out about him in the past year, especially when I don't want to say he took a jab at Trump, but when all these accusations have been made about Trump, instead of staying steadfastly behind his boss, he did if these charges, you don't say that. You don't say that unless you want his job. And let's face it, if he thought Donald Trump wasn't going to handedly get the nomination, he would have run for the position.
Did I lose you?
So, yeah, are you not hearing me?
You cut out there for a second.
Oh, wow. I don't know how much you lost, but
You're
as far
good.
as Pompeo goes, he's old news. I don't want to talk about him anymore. How's that?
Yeah, that's perfect. But Rubio, I think, is a pretty good pick. I was a little worried about that he might be too connected to the neocon establishment and the Uniparty.
I agree.
What do you?
I agree. As a matter of fact, Marco Rubio made it to the Florida State House Speaker's chair because of the Bush family.
Yeah.
He was a protege of Jeb Bush.
Right.
So there is something there to what you just pointed to. Okay? And yes, he's very polished. And like Rick Scott, who now is the only one that is currently running, I was hoping it would be Rand Paul.
Me too, yeah.
But yeah, of the three that are there running for majority leader office, Rick Scott is the only one I can support, whose candidacy I can support, because he steadfastly is behind the MAGA movement. But
right.
it took him a while to get there. And that's what I'm trying to say about Marco. I believe that 8 years ago, after he had been thumped by Donaldus Magnus, he realized his future did not lie with the neocons. It lied with the America First movement and the Tea Partiers and MAGA. And that meant he had to get behind Trump. And he's been loyal. If you look at over the past 3 years, that they have tried unmercifully to put Donald Trump behind bars, it's been Marco Rubio, not only him, but it's been Marco Rubio, who in his own right is a very sharp attorney, that has come out and said not so fast.
Right.
And so, as we all know, Donald Trump rewards loyalty. So when you look at the people that he's already nominated for positions in his White House, besides who they are and what they've accomplished with their lives, both publicly and privately to this point, what are they? They are Trumpians. They are people that are not going to go behind his back and screw him over, as happened with Mr. Exxon, who was the first Secretary of State. And how did he get there? He got there because the neocons told Donald Trump, who was a Washington, D.C. neophyte, he was an outsider, you got to have this guy.
Rex Tillerson.
As Secretary of State. Correct.
Yep.
And that's why I call him Mr. Exxon.
Yep.
And what did Tillerson do? The moment he stepped out of Washington, D.C. and was on a trip for foreign policy, these are not his exact words, but he said Donald Trump is an absolute idiot.
Right.
Now, like I said, those were not his exact words. But you don't say that to foreign dignitaries. And so that ain't happening in this White House. And I'll tell you something else. When they started throwing out names for nominations, it happened within the first hours of him being awarded the presidency. He didn't wait weeks like he did last time because he was told, well, this is the way we do things in Washington, D.C. There was no ceremony in any of this. It's business as the Trump organization conducts itself. Boom, 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 boom. Keep hitting them because we're going to, this is how you keep the Democrats back on their heels.
Right.
Get everybody out there. Get them confirmed. And then hit the ground running at 12:05 p.m. on January 20th.
Yep. Yeah, I agree that he's doing this in a flurry. And some people might even be placeholders. That's what I'm kind of thinking about Hegseth, is that he might even push for the confirmation. And if he needs to change him out down the line, he might change him out down the line. Let's move now to Huckabee has been tapped to be the envoy to Israel.
The ambassador to Israel.
So I want your comments on that. I mean, everybody likes Mr. Huckabee. And then I want to go to Holman and Miller, who are going to be the pair that...
Oh, you're saving the best for last, aren't you?
Yeah, no. And then after that, I want to go to Vivek and Elon. They've just been paired up to run the Department of Government Efficiency. But let's start with Huckabee.
The huckster. Look, for the most part, I've always had a soft place in my heart for Mike Huckabee. I will never forget how he turned the state of Arkansas around. The first Republican governor in Arkansas since Reconstruction. And, you know, everybody knows him as an ordained minister. Everybody knows about his daughter, who is now very successfully in his old position. Everybody knows, as a born-again Christian, how he feels about protecting the state of Israel. Having said all that, generally speaking, not always the case, but generally speaking, when you send an ambassador to a nation, whether it's China or Russia or France or Argentina, that ambassador has to know a great deal and should have contacts with very important people and speak the language of that country you're sending them to. Now, while I think Mike Huckabee checks off almost every single box, I don't think he speaks Hebrew. And although it's not vital, because every cabinet member and every elected official in the Israeli government speaks fluent English, as a courtesy, it really is important, because you're going to be walking amongst the people of that country. You're not just going to be held up in the ambassador's residence or staying at the embassy in Jerusalem. You're going to be seen about. And not every single Israeli speaks English. And so that is the only concern I have. But if that's the only concern I can have about Mike Huckabee being tabbed to be ambassador to Israel, I can live with that.
Right. I think he's a good pick. I love his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I like Mike Huckabee. He looks great in his new beard.
Yeah, he does.
So let's move over to the border. So
he plays a mean guitar too. You know?
He does. Yes, he does. And he takes Relaxium for sleep. So Stephen Miller, who I think is awesome, is being named.
My Yiddish brother from another mother.
Right, is being
another
named
Yenta mother.
Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, and he's going to be working with Tom Homan on the border crisis. So they're both experts there. What do you think of those two being teamed up? And then
there isn't anything about Stephen Miller that I don't absolutely love, except the fact he is a bald man. I mean, he is a younger version of Mark Levin. And quite honestly, in my opinion, I think he's a future AG in another White House.
Yeah.
He's a constitutional attorney. He is incredibly well-spoken, well-written. You never want to get into a debate with that man. I don't care what it's about. It could be about chicken crossing the road. You don't want to be on the opposite side of that conversation because there isn't anything that man doesn't know. And obviously, illegal immigration is a pet peeve of his. Thank God. It is one of the things that he's passionate about fixing. And putting him side by side because he's the deputy chief of staff. And I think there's a reason why he was named to that position besides what you and I are talking about at this very second. You know, Susie's not a young girl. And so she may have said to President Trump, I'll take the position as chief of staff, but only for 2 years.
Right.
I didn't sign on for that. I signed on to get you back into the White House. I love my family, and I want to see my grandkids on a regular basis, and I can't do that as COS. So I believe she, as a sign of devotion to her, because without Susie, Trump doesn't get back into the White House. Everybody is saying that.
Yep.
Everybody is saying, just like Kelly did 8 years ago. And, oh, by the way, the only two women that ran a presidential campaign and won are Kelly
Conway, yep,
and Susie.
Yeah, and Susan
both
Wiles.
of them worked. That's right, and both of them worked for Donaldus Mag.
Yeah,
that says something too.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that Wiles was going to be there to staff up the government, help them staff up the government, make sure things are running to plan, and then Stephen Miller would take over. That was my thinking from the beginning.
And I think that's a good thing. I really do. In the meantime, Stephen has bigger fish to fry, and he's going to do it with Tom Homan. And as I told you this morning, I told you he was going to be named. Yeah. And he made a lot of enemies of Democrats in the Congress. And he's going to get called up to the Hill. And all I can say is they better have bulletproof glass between them and him when they call him up. This man is no nonsense. He's a retired New York City detective. He's a gold shield. And he is mean as a mofo. He is not going to play around. And now that he's working, because he worked under Obama.
Yep.
Now that he's working for a president that he would take a bullet for, you watch and see how fast all these illegal aliens start self-supporting.
Yeah.
And it's going to make his job so much easier. And for all these little pissant Democrat governors like Naysayer Newsom, and what the hell is the name of that little bitch up there in Massachusetts?
Oh, the governor?
The governor.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah.
On camera, she said, when asked the question, will you allow your state troopers to work with federal agents? She said, absolutely not.
Yep. So sanctuary state.
So,
yeah.
Well, great. Okay. So you know what Tom Homan's already said? You can do this, and this is this is not verbatim. You can do this one of two ways. You can do it the easy way, or you can do it the hard way.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to cooperate, then I'll send twice the number of federal agents to get these people.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I have a job to do.
Yeah.
You can either be part of the solution or stay out of my way. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, and
I've waited 40 fucking years for someone to do what this man is about to embark on.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to do a good job. I just hope, keep in mind the public relations aspect and do as they said they were going to do, is start with the criminals and work their way down to, as Anna Navarro would say, the abuelos.
Yeah. Let's not worry about, matter of fact, the local NBC affiliate here in Central Florida, the Orlando affiliate, did exactly that kind of story about an abuela. Okay? Let's just say, because I've forgotten what the daughter's name is. Let's just say the daughter's name is Maria. Maria's in her 40s. She's got a husband and a couple of kids. Okay? And they are deadly afraid of what's coming now that Trump has been elected and Homan has already threatened to throw everybody out. What's going to happen to my mother? What's going to happen to my mother? She's undocumented. And I screamed at the TV, no, bitch, she's an illegal alien. She has invaded my country and my tax dollars are paying for her welfare, not yours. Yeah. Not yours. And so you care so much about your mother and the medical care that she needs. Great. Why the hell, if you're an American citizen, or even if you're here on a green card, if you're here legally and your children are being educated in a local greater Orlando school, and you have a job and you pay taxes, why the hell didn't you see to it to bring your mother here by legal means? It's really not that hard. Yeah. All you do is go to your congressman's office. If you can't afford an attorney, you go to your congressman's or congresswoman's office. You say, I have an elder member of my family who needs medical care in pick whatever country. I don't care. Let's just say in Nicaragua. And I need to bring her here. I am prepared to sign documents that I will be financially obligated to care for her needs. Sponsor. I have the ability to do that. I need to get a green card and visa for her. And within 90 days, it's done. Yeah. You know, all this nonsense that the Democrats have said that the immigration system is broken. It's not broken. You broke it. You broke it for decades, allowing people to invade our country. Yeah. Okay. It's not that it can't be easily fixed. I mean, we have 1 million people a year, Rudy, that
come in legally,
naturalized citizenship. Yep. So obviously people are coming here with the system. Yeah. It's the ones that don't want to go through the system. Yeah. And that family is one of the examples. And that's why I was so irate.
Yeah, and I would even I could increase legal immigration. I could even double it as long as the border illegal immigration is locked down. So in the next 5 minutes, I want to go over to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to pair up for the newly created Department of Government Efficiency. What's your take on that?
Well, just like with Tom and Steve, you save the best for last. The first thing people who watch your podcast should take away from this is when Donald Trump makes a promise and a commitment, whether it's in business or personally, or in this case, on a presidential level, he follows through. He spoke to Elon during the campaign. Elon said, I'm in. Vivek, we already knew was in, certainly a future senator, if not, I hope, a future president. I hope I live long enough to vote for that man. Okay. You have two venture capitalists the richest man in the world, a man who aspires to be the richest man in the world someday, and devout patriots who want to fix. Now, here's what is broken: the federal government. Okay? And I don't know if it was Trump, but I know Elon said, and Vivek said, we're going to cut $2 trillion. That is a T as in Tom. We're going to cut $2 trillion from the federal government within the first 18 months.
Yeah.
And one of the things that my better half just told me before I prepared for our podcast tonight was that they just announced. Oh Christ! Just went out of my head. Another senior moment. I'm sorry, but getting back to Elon and Vivek. Cuttings. Oh, Department of Education is going to be eliminated, and they're going to take the money and give it back to the states to run each one of the 50 state departments of education the way the people in that state see fit.
Right.
Now, what does that mean, Rudy? Not only does it mean more direct funding, which
right.
isn't.
They're still going to get. They're still going to get the money. They're just not going to have any directive behind it.
Well, right, and that's thank you. And that's where I was. You stole my thunder. You do this a lot, you bastard.
Sorry.
You know, I'm not exactly thrilled. I'm not exactly thrilled that I think the Department of Education is $75 billion a year.
Yeah.
So each state is going to get probably $1.1 billion a year, $1.10 billion a year, okay, from the federal government. I would rather just see that go back to the federal government to pay down debt.
Yeah.
But this is something a lot of people don't understand about how the federal government controls local boards of education from Washington, D.C. The latest numbers that I have here in the state of Florida are that per student, the state of Florida gets roughly $800 a year per student from the federal government. Now, not only is that not a lot of money, but more importantly, per student, it comes with strings attached. Strings like you're going to have to build all your buses, or a large percentage of those buses, to accept physically handicapped students that are on motorized wheelchairs because they have to be mainstream. You have to, without question, take in the children of illegal aliens and put them front and center, even if they don't know how to speak English. You will have to teach them. If you don't do what we in the Federal Department of Education say you must do, then you're not only not going to get federal dollars of any kind, we are going to come in and take over your local board of education and run your local schools for you, just like we threatened under Obama to take over local departments of police because of racism and the violation of supposedly civil rights. So you have the members of the Board of Education, anywhere between 5 and 9 members, depending on how big the school system is. And it doesn't matter where they are. It could be Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And I know this to be fact because before I moved out of the Orlando area, one of my clients 15 years ago happens to still sit on the Board of Education for my local school board. And while we were helping her and her family with a claim on their home, we started talking about things that my wife and I would like to see done in our school system and aren't. And I'm not going for sake of time, I'm not going to discuss what they were. What she said to us was, yeah, I want to do that too, but I can't. And I said, okay, I get. Why can't you? That's why we elect people like you.
Right.
Because the federal government won't allow us to.
Or to pull funding. Yeah.
And right. So I said to her, and this is 15 years ago, and at that point it was less than $400 a year per student. I forgot how many hundreds of thousands of dollars that turned out to be in the local funding. But just to give you an idea, and to give your viewers an idea, that was less than $400. But at that time, 15 years ago, the budget per student was almost $7,000 a year. But because they took that $400, everything they did had the first pass approval of the apparatchiks in the Federal Department of Education. So, am I happy? I am thrilled that all those bureaucrats are going to be looking for a real job now.
Yeah.
I just wish the money wasn't part of it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too, is that most of the money is going to be saved by cutting salaries. And Elon Musk is proposing giving them a 2 months severance, 2-year severance, because that'll help pad the effect of losing the jobs, because there will be an economic effect, because there are a lot of people employed by the federal government. And if you start cutting some of those jobs, it's going to have a economic effect overall. Parting words before we close out here, Perry?
Well, I think I said this during the special report on Sunday. It's morning in America.
Yeah.
It really is.
Thank God.
It feels so good.
Yeah, thank God. Can't wait to January 20th. Thanks for joining me today, Perry. Episode 97 of Tuesdays with Perry. Can't wait to chat next week.
I'm right there with you, brother. And until then, be safe, be happy, and most of all, look forward to tomorrow because it's a lot brighter.
Yeah, it is for sure. Keep your powder dry.
That's right. All right, take care now.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There goes Perry. Episode 97 of Tuesdays with Perry. We're discussing all the appointments that Trump is trying to make for his administration. He is moving at a swift pace. The latest that was just announced, Pete Hegseth, the Fox News host, was tapped to be Secretary of Defense. I was surmising that very well could be a placeholder. Who knows if he'll be confirmed? There's a lot more to see in the coming weeks. Stay tuned. Join me tomorrow for my daily podcast, Rudy's Revelation, 10 a.m. on Rumble, Monday through Friday. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.